How's it going, everyone? I'm Michael Christian. Welcome to another episode of The Extra Yard. Today, as usual, I'm joined by Kai and Juan. How are you guys doing?
Good, bro. How are you?
Good.
I'm
Kai?
upset Antonio Callaway was cut.
Listen, we're not
That's
going to
your
get too deep
boy.
into it. Antonio Callaway was a fairly useless wide receiver.
Whoa.
I think
Watch
he
your
didn't do
mouth.
anything for the Dolphins. I'm proud of him for what he did for the Gators. No, I'm not. I'm a Hurricanes fan. Get him out of here. Before we jump into any more Dolphins talk, I just want to let you guys know we're not going to talk about Justin Herbert. We're just not going to do it. I know that was
we'll
the
mention
big
his name.
conversations last week and everything. Listen, these rookie quarterbacks are playing well. Tua's playing well. Herbert's playing well. Burrow played well until he got hurt. And you've got Jalen Hurts now coming up for the Eagles. Just because one is good doesn't mean the rest are bad. They're all playing well.
We got our guy. I'm happy with our guy.
We're happy with who we've got. The Chargers are happy with who they've got. The Eagles are happy. The Bengals are happy. Everybody just drop it. We're all happy. Just leave it alone. We don't have to have both of their names in every single tweet. But with that being said, we did get another W this week on a really good game for the Dolphins run game specifically. I was listening to the 3 yards per carry podcast earlier today, and they brought up a really funny point that I hadn't noticed. Week 1, the Dolphins lose 21-11. We are outrushed 87 to 217. In this next game, the Dolphins win 22-12, and we outrushed the Patriots, 250 to 117.
17, yeah.
Obviously, it was a huge run game for the Dolphins, best running game we've had so far this season. Do you guys think we can keep this up moving forward?
Juan, do you want to go first? Or you want?
I'll go first this time. So I think we actually don't need another 200-yard game. I mean, as much as I would love one, I'm not gonna say that I don't want one. But I think if we can at least get half of that production, we can get a solid 125 every game. With that, with Tua playing safe ball, with our defense playing as aggressive as they are, we didn't even get a pick, but you saw a couple of times where Xavier, he's in another stratosphere right now. Like,
yep.
You could see that the game is just slowed down for him. He even on that KVN where he almost had that interception. Like, if he's not there, Xavier is taking that. So I don't know, man. I think we're good, and I think the running game, if we can get, like I said, half of that, we'll be able to win a playoff game or two.
Yep. Okay.
I don't think it's going to be consistent. I love it. I love the sentiment behind it. Of course, what Savon Ahmed was talking about with his 100-yard game. Saying he predicted it and for the reason why. And then also, I think it's cool that there's another, although it's not running related, that there's another situation where a Dolphins player predicted what they were going to get. Kyle Van Noy a few weeks ago saying how he woke up and he told his wife that he's going to get 3 sacks. That stuff is, it's pretty cool. Like, obviously it's, at the end of the day, you look at it and it's funny, it's nice, but for Savon Ahmed, I really like it. And the rushing game, I think, was there and it's really interesting. I just think that, at the end of the day, like, to bring it back there again, to just honor that. No, I think that it's just not going to be consistent. I really don't think that we're going to get that production consistently. I would love for it to be that way. Like, if we ran all over the Raiders and then ran all over the Bills, and that's how we paved the way to the playoffs, would not be upset by any means. I would not be upset by any means. Not saying that I don't want Tua to throw again, but like, if he can rush for 2 touchdowns and he was still an impactful part of the game and the running game is getting going, that's going to be beneficial for him as a rookie developing. That's going to be beneficial for the team. And it also just means that even though it's a 1-game basis, they keep it going for the next 2 games where at least they get, like, let's say 150 or like something like that, like as a team or something. Better than what we were getting before, right? That something is happening and there's some consistency growing. Doesn't mean that we still need to go out and get like a receiver or a running back and stuff like that. But at least it's showing that, like, the coaches are doing what the coaches are doing. We've seen on defense that the coaches can take guys and develop them. Right. Now, being able to see that on offense would be amazing. So consistency would be key.
And granted, I phrased my question wrong. I don't think any team can do 250 rushing yards per game.
Yeah. Jay Ajayi was his own team.
That was pretty fluky. But I agree with Juan. Like, I think if we can reach half of that, right? The 125 a game, 120 per game, that puts us right in the middle of the pack. A little bit higher end of the middle of the pack in the NFL in terms of rush yards per game, but I think that really helps out. And the Dolphins, every time we make the playoffs and stuff, it's always a team that rushes, right? When we made the playoffs in 2008, when we made the playoffs in 2016, it was predominantly rushing teams, right? That's the way we've found success ever since Marino. Unfortunately, we haven't had that real prolific passing team. Hopefully that changes in years to come, but.
And just to highlight something real quick too, I don't even think we could really attribute it to like a special like neurogenesis type of like event for the offensive line, because we were down already. Flowers, we lost Kinley going into the game. We had Dieter in there who going in starting, he did struggle at first and kind of smoothed his way into the game. But I really feel like our running backs this week, just they had an extra step, like pep in their step or whatever it was. I don't know if it was Flores getting them all hyped and getting them ready for this Pats team, because like you mentioned earlier, like they did exactly what we did to them this week. They did it to us in week 1. So it seems like Flores is that type of petty coach, like Belichick, like he learned from his from his master. And I love it. I love seeing every bit of it.
It was like, oh, you think you can run it down my throat? Well, here you go. How's it feel?
It's literally like pride. I mean, in a way, they got flat out embarrassed, right? In that game in week 1.
We eliminated them. Or we're talking about
in week 1, then so we in a way got flat out embarrassed. It wasn't necessarily like solely because of rushing. Like obviously Cam Newton really won that game, but also 3 interceptions, everything like that.
Oh yeah.
And then they turned it around and said, okay, you know what, you embarrassed us at your home, and now in front of no fans, now in front of 13,000 odd or whatever, minus
Kylie specifically. Don't forget Kylie. She was there, so that's another like 10,000.
And Kylie and her dad.
She snitched on a fan, and she
got that Patriots fan out of there. That was great.
Listen, bro, if you don't do that while you're at games, people are doing. I got a story about stuff like that, but that was just putting the embarrassment that we had gotten in week 1 and giving it back to them, and kind of setting the tone for it just sets the tone for the next 2 games. In terms of like, if you even had finished like how it was 6-0 going into the half, if you had not won at least by 7 or something like that, then that would have been kind of like a game where it's like, okay, is this game against the Raiders really going to be close? Because the Raiders have been so up and down,
so bad.
And we'll get into that, but it's like getting that win and getting it in the way that you were able to do it, and just imposing your will on a team with probably, if not, like, it's obviously people debate it, but he's probably the greatest head coach of all time in terms of his team and his dynasties, as much as we would hate to say that with Don Shula, like everything like that. But like probably the best defensive mind to ever coach in the NFL.
2 decades of just
to impose your will on him with your, like, it's not like this is Kansas City, like to impose your will with guys that you did. Like, again, shout out to Chan Gailey like we did on Sunday. You have to give him the credit where credit's due. And then just shout out the players, because they literally just imposed their will on the defense of the Patriots. And it's a different Patriots defense, but we've seen Bill do it before with guys. Like, it doesn't matter who it is.
I mean, that was an outstanding performance for the Dolphins rushing game, right? One
Kyle
that
Duggar
I think
was their best player. On defense, like by far. And he's a rookie. He was what, 3rd round pick, I believe, something like that. Might have been lower.
Yeah.
But like,
I think this kind of sets the tone for the Dolphins moving forward, though, too, right? Because now you've got other teams are going to have to sit back and be like, wait, they can rush the ball if they really put their heads down and decide that's what we're going to go ahead and do today. So obviously the rushing game was a big stock up this week for the Dolphins. But Juan, who else do you have on the stock report after that Patriots game?
Definitely Jerome Baker. Jerome Baker had himself another game. He played every single defensive snap according to Pro Football Focus. So all 55 he was in there. He totaled 8 tackles, 7 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and the 1 quarterback hit. But more so than just like the individual numbers with Baker is just the consistent like back-to-back performances. I feel like with him, we would see him have that high 3-sack game and then come back the next week and just not be really into it, or 3 tackles and stuff like that. Again, like to harp on it, definitely Chan Gailey. For an old man, I mean, hey, he called another Lynn Bowden Jr. Fake pass. He put Malcolm Perry, an ex-quarterback, in motion and had him take a 3rd and 1 right into a first down. There was one, I mean, 2-point conversion for a hook and lateral, like, like super creative, and we definitely would be on him, for the last couple of weeks whenever we had a bad game plan and things like that. But this week, even with Tua, like Tua started 7 for 7 before that interception.
He did.
So we were moving the ball well. Unfortunately, we just couldn't punch it in. But again, we can't really put that on Gailey, because Gailey with the first 15 plays, I would say we were successful. And then for stock down, I could beat on Antonio Callaway. Jason Sanders, I could say something about, but he's earned his respect. I'll just point out to Nick Needham. I think he had probably his worst game. Yeah. Just when you look at, especially with Cam Newton only really threw for like 209 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
And then Nick allowed 61 yards to Jacoby Myers with 2 catches. So we're talking about over 35% of the yards for the game with just on Needham. So that would be my stock report for the guys.
Yeah. I think those all make a lot of sense. Gailey, I think for as much crap as people have wanted to give him, we'll always, Twitter play calling is always going to be a thing, right? It's always going to be a hindsight thing.
Backseat coaching.
Yeah, we're always going to be sitting there as fans on our couches being like, oh, I would have called a pass there and it would have been a touchdown. What are you doing, Gailey? But at the end of the day, we don't know. That's not our job. They brought in Gailey for a reason, and you got to give him his respect, especially when you consider what we had out there, right? The players we had out there weren't ideal. They weren't the ones we really wanted. But one guy on the offensive side that I wanted to say had a pretty decent game, Durham Smythe.
Yeah.
Right? That dude can block, and we've known that for a really long time. But if you give him the ball after like a 1 yard out, that dude can truck some cornerbacks, and it is awesome.
Him and Shaheem, they showed a little wiggle.
That was really nice to see. Like, it makes me really excited about our inline tight ends, and then let Gesicki do whatever he wants.
Yeah,
call him a tight end, but Gesicki's a wide receiver. He's a wide receiver. Like, I don't ask him to block. I don't want him to block. Right? Don't put him on the goal line unless he's outside.
The only time I would say that I actually liked Gailey leaving him into block was his first touchdown against Kansas City. He kind of stayed in to kind of fake a little block, and then he kind of just slipped in and then just caught the little touchdown there. So again,
which even on that touchdown, he turned around the wrong way. I was like, dude,
he did.
Doing? Turn to the Mike.
Yeah. So I mean, again, just Gailey really had a good game for me. Like, especially with, like you said, Mike, the weapons that we had, no Jakeem, no Devontae, no Preston, no Gesicki. I mean, it was slim pickings what we had to throw to.
Yeah, Kai, what do you think of the stock report?
Again, you just have to give Gailey his credit. Like that's really like we especially, I think me, Lewis, I believe as well, has been on this train, and I think you as well, Mike. In terms,
I was on it for a little bit. Yeah,
every week we were kind of harping on the like, come on, Chan, like, please, like, just open it up. We see what you do for like Fitz. We know it's different in terms of processing the game and everything like that. Like right now at this point in time, the NFL game is different than college. It's completely different. And no one can deny that, regardless of ability of the players. But like, come on, like get it going. This is a playoff run. Tua's the guy. It's not going back to Fitz. Open up the playbook. And in recent weeks, I feel like literally the past 3 weeks, we've come in here and said, not just on this with the post game, and have said, and in game, Chan Gailey is opening up the offense. Chan Gailey is getting more creative. Now we understand why back in, when he was hired, I believe he was hired in January, if I'm not mistaken. But back when he was hired,
a while back.
I even made a thread and I said, how Chan Gailey was the perfect fit for Tua if Tua is to be drafted by the Dolphins. So now we're seeing why that thought was being, floated around. I mean, Houts, I know, was one of the big people, tweeting that out a lot when that hire happened, where it's like you're going out and if you're going all in for Tua, if Tua's going to be there at 5, or if you have to trade up to 3 or whatever the situation was at the time, the whole thought was Chan Gailey is the perfect guy for Tua. So now we're seeing like for the offense, even though it was the run game, even last week with KC, it's like, okay, Chan's finally opening up the offense and things finally look a little bit normal. It'll be interesting though to still see if Chan comes back next year.
That's what I was going to say.
If he doesn't.
Yeah, I know they've got the Godsey. I know George Godsey. I mean, it's been pointed out by, I think Chris Kaufman was the one that had it first. Yeah. And then it's been reported from some outlets after that. But, I want to give credit to our guy, Chris. They've talked about he's the one on the sidelines talking to Tua.
Because remember, we had a quarterback coach who was out because of, whatever's going on. And Godsey was the one who kind of stepped in during those games where we had 3-4 coaches left, and he was the one playing quarterback coach. And I believe if I'm not mistaken, he was with Dallas previously as a quarterback coach too. So he has some experience there. And it wouldn't be the worst idea to move on from Gailey if that's the decision we make, and kind of just give somebody who's worked with Tua now an opportunity to just grow into the role.
Well, and George Godsey was Flores' guy, right? Like Flores brought him in, if I'm not mistaken. And so that might be one of those things where it was like, hey, let's bring in Chan so he implements his system and his ideas, and then we let someone else run it. Because I mean, we can all agree Chan shouldn't be here more than 2-3 years.
No.
Poor guy needs to go retire, sit on some beach in Florida, have a nice time, like enjoy that, man. But you mentioned also Jason Sanders. You had him on your stock down. I will say that field goal that he missed was unfortunate. I'll give him a slight pass because I mean he's had such a great season. But that kind
that's why I didn't want to really dig into him.
Yeah.
But it was more so it was more so this game, only 0 for 1, and then last game we also missed that field goal early. Right. And I feel like that field goal, if we score and we could play what ifs and things like that. But I feel like if we score there, it kind of starts giving our offense a little more momentum towards the going into like halftime. Right. And maybe it would have done something different.
So maybe those past 2 weeks where we've been a little bit more in the limelight than we had been, against the Kansas City Chiefs, big game, eliminating the Patriots. Obviously, for some reason, people have been talking more about the Patriots than the Dolphins on the national media outlets. I have no idea. There goes Kai's camera again. Shocker.
No, I turned it off because I'm adjusting something.
Oh, okay. But I will say that just as nicely, those last couple of weeks for Sanders might have been the cause for this. Sanders did not make the Pro Bowl. Pro Bowl rosters were announced for this season. Now, again, before we get into the rosters, this is a weird Pro Bowl. It's not going to be played in person, right? They're not going to be here in Orlando. They're not going to be doing anything like that. It's going to be a Madden Pro Bowl, and I don't know if each player is going to be controlling themselves in the game, in which case you're going to have a lot of really boring moments for a lot of outside players.
I haven't played Madden in a while. Could you logistically do that?
I'm sure the developers could add that. They have squad modes where you can play with multiple people. I think the most that I know of that you can play with in game is 5, right? Like 5 versus 5, and you can control whoever you want, right? Like you can cycle through the players. Really curious to see how they make it work. I mean, some of the players are pretty decent at the game, but other players are not at all.
I just have like an issue with the Pro Bowl, like in general, right? But in a normal year, you would have where, and I tweeted it, like the old heads really wouldn't come to like the games. Like if they've been there 10 years, 8 years, 7 years, like they'll let the young guys go in and they'll be like, oh no, my ankle, or I have surgery, or I have something planned, and
I have a Super Bowl to play.
Yeah, or exactly.
Well, unless it's in Honolulu. Because now they're doing it in all these, especially the first time when they put it in Orlando, it's like, come on. Yeah. Or I think it was Arizona actually when they first had moved it. It's like, if it's in Hawaii, you know that they're gonna go. I mean, one of the most infamous things that I know for the brand punter, Pat McAfee, had said was that when he found out that the Pro Bowl wasn't in Hawaii, it was just like, all right, I'm not gonna go. There's no point. Why am I gonna go to Arizona?
I will say this: players have. So Hawaii was nice from a vacation standpoint for the players specifically, and I think a lot of the single players really like that one, right? I will say, though, I have heard some good things about the Orlando one for people that come with their families, considering that everything with it is held at Disney World. It's really easy for them, and Disney hooks it up for them to be like, all right, you get your VIP stuff, go do this. Because I ran into Gerald McCoy once at Animal Kingdom just on like a random Saturday. It was like their bye week. I walked over to him, told him he should join the Dolphins. He chuckled. I walked away. One of the proudest moments of my life, I'm going to say. Like, I was really proud of myself.
But wait, did he respond or did he? You didn't even wait for a response?
No. Well, dude, I was nervous. Listen, I don't know celebrities. I don't. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, I haven't met her yet in person, but the day I meet Kylie in person, I'm probably not going to say anything because I'm going to be nervous.
Kylie is one of the most down-to-earth people that
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No, once you reach a certain level of celebrity to me, it's me. Bro. It's my head, right? You can ask my wife because she was there with me that day at Animal Kingdom. She's like, just go talk to him. I was like, what do I say?
That's how I felt with Brent Grimes. Funny enough, like just to
but Brent is dope though, bro. He's so down.
I saw him at AMC Theater in Aventura like a long time ago. Yeah. I'm no joke. And my friend was like, "That's Brent Grimes." And I was like, "No, it's not." And I looked over again, and I was like, "Oh, it is." And he goes, "Let's just go over there." I'm like, "Nah." And he walked over. He's like, "Yo, me and my friend Kai, like, can we take a picture?" And I was like, "All right." Shout out Carrie. That's my friend Carrie. But
I didn't even get a picture with Gerald. He was waiting in line for popcorn, and I didn't want to ambush him, right? Because I didn't want people to know that he was famous, because I could tell a lot of people didn't know. Because I don't like being the guy that triggers Orlando, that, and then they're like. Well, in his Disney World too, all those people are traveling and stuff. But I walked over to him when he was in line. I'm like, listen, man, I love your game. Again, he's a huge Batman fan. I was like, love your Batman cave and stuff, because I think that was around the Hard Knocks time when they were on. And I was like, If you ever want to join a real team, though, you should join the Dolphins. He just kind of chuckled a little bit, grabbed his popcorn, and walked away. And I was like, I did it. Whoa, huge tangent. All right, wow, we've really
but with the Pro Bowl, like,
guys,
for something to mention, like with the Pro Bowl, and especially the fact that it's going to be on Madden, it's like a quick like Madden, because it relates to the Pro Bowl. Like Madden is by far, especially Madden 20, 21, 19, like all three of these games, and tying into the next gen version because it's honestly crap. All of them just suck. Like as a player, maybe some of the younger ones, maybe some of them even play it, but some of them have also said it's like, why are you gonna want to be like, oh, you know what? Like, let's say let me look through this. Like Bradley Chubb, it's like, yo, I can be outside linebacker on a video game against these guys. Like, yo, that would be so fun. It's like, if the game was better, it would be. I mean, the only person that I know famously is very into Madden is Tyreek Hill.
Like, Derwin James.
In terms of what I've seen.
Yeah.
Because I know that he plays with a lot of YouTubers and he does stuff like that. Like most famously, he played with MMG, and so it's like he does a lot of those things. And it's like, I know that from them, but like, come on, like you're gonna tell me that, you know, maybe Patrick Mahomes isn't like the greatest thing to. You know, Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson's gonna go on there and play Madden. Like,
I think it depends on who likes it, right? Like the guys who are 99 don't like it, right? Like,
what are you gonna? I'm gonna throw a like 90-yard like. It's just some of the stuff.
Well, I don't know about 90, but they can literally. If you turn on
he might throw 90.
Listen, you get that 80-yard pass downfield.
It's just such a horrible game. Like that's the thing. Like, the fact that it's going to be on. First of all, Madden and EA had promised. Just a little the tangent here. Madden and EA had promised and committed to doing walkouts for the NFL draft because it was going to be held virtually. That never happened. Not only were they going to do it for the NFL draft, they said they were going to implement it into the next Madden 21.
Right.
Not in Madden 21. Didn't pull through for the NFL. It boggles my mind that the NFL is collaborating with a game for a Pro Bowl that already sucks in viewership, that is collaborating with EA, who makes their game and their sport look bad. Like it just.
It's monopoly, bro. It's just a monopoly. They just have this point,
what EA has.
Of course, but imagine if they give it to 2K or another person. Like 2K5 is still one of the most famous football games ever. You have people porting it to get PS2 on their PCs so that they can play it. Like the fact that that's something that they do, and then they're still putting out Madden and the Pro Bowl. I mean, there's already snubs and stuff like that, but it's just insane to me. It's already
the issue is they're running it a lot like a business. The things that they're really investing in and caring about is the Madden Ultimate Team. And I'm not going to lie, I like Ultimate Team. I think it's a lot of fun. I get to the point
the first time I played Ultimate Team, I spent $500 and I never did it again.
Why'd you spend $500, dude?
I was a kid.
What? I mean,
Ultimate Team
spent a little bit
like pay to play. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Well, yeah. It's pay if you want to be really good. You can.
Dude, I was like 15, bro. It was like the first integration.
Players based off of sets and random things here or there, but it's really hard to do. So what a lot of people do is they'll just buy a lot of the best stuff that they can. I do enjoy Madden Ultimate Team, especially when you get that one scrub who's terrible and you just run the same play over and over again and keep getting the same touchdown and he can't stop it. But I think the Madden Pro Bowl is just them trying to make the best out of this whole situation.
Yeah,
you know,
if anything, they're trying to take a page out of NBA. I feel like with NBA, didn't they do something like All-Star or something like that where they were playing like each other or something pre-recorded? I think I remember seeing KD versus I want to say it was
I think they did something.
YouTubers.
I think they did something right at the start of the quarantine and stuff. Right after the NBA had shut down and right before they started back up or something like that. Somewhere in that time frame, I think they did some games.
Yeah, and then I feel like Derek Jones played and was part for the Heat.
They did a tournament. Yeah, they did a 2K tournament. Yeah,
but, just to go back to snubs though. I mean, I kind of want to mention because I don't really understand how Agba doesn't get in over Frank Clark. Frank Clark has 5 sacks and Agba has 9, I believe.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there's other players that probably would go over Agba if they were really going over. But Frank Clark was just a really bad one.
Agba leads Frank Clark in every single defensive category except for tackles for loss.
It's named
the only one he doesn't is tackles for loss, and it's because Frank Clark has 7 and Agba has 6.
And again, I don't know what they're gonna do because I just feel like it really diminishes like the Pro Bowl because there's some young guys, like for instance, like the running back from Jaguars.
Oh
that
yeah,
kid has
I don't know.
been
He didn't make
lights
it.
out. He's literally 4th, I think, rushing overall in the NFL for an undrafted kid, and I just saw Chris Thompson, like he was like almost
He's
like
third. He's
emotional.
third, dude.
Third, look at that
He's
third. Like
third.
Chris Thompson, like his fellow running back, was literally going ham on him for not even getting in, not even anything. And like we were saying, because there's no real game to skip, there's no way for these other running backs to be like, nah, I don't want to go. And then
Well, and it doesn't make sense either, though, right? Because it's like I feel like James Robinson is younger, and so he'd probably be more into Madden too, right? So like,
true.
I don't know. Another snub
popularity
that I'm sure
contest.
Kai is really into, though. Kai, you got
What?
that other snub. Aren't you a leg guy?
Oh, Jason
Aren't you a
Sanders
special
or Matt
teamer?
Hawk?
Yeah.
Which
well,
one, though?
no, Matt Hawk isn't. I don't think Matt Hawk's a snub.
Yeah,
I mean,
Sanders.
for Jason Sanders, it's just, and I think it also, although this is throughout the season and stuff like that, it doesn't just come down to the last 2 weeks.
Right.
Like some of that also probably factored into like the long term, like that final push. But like, if you're gonna, you'd have to have a perfect season to beat out Justin Tucker. Like it's
That's
just what
what
it
I'm
is.
Yeah,
Like
just-
I'm
Or a
I-
season like
I-
Koo, because Koo for the Falcons.
God, and love that for him, by the
Man.
way, because
that's
he
more-
had
that was
missed.
more of a story. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
missed that horrible kick for the Chargers in that season where the Dolphins had to play 16 straight.
Mhm.
It's a couple of kicks that year.
Yeah. And that one would have won the game for them. And then he was released. He bounced around. I think he was in either the AF or whatever the hell it is.
AFL.
AFL or the other one. I can't remember which one he was a part of. Maybe the XFL as well. Like it was one of the two. And then now being able to have a really great season with the Falcons, it's just I love that. And he obviously gets nominated to the Pro Bowl, so it's great for him. But for just like you have to just have a perfect season to beat out Justin Tucker.
It's
I mean, he is gonna go down as probably unless Jason Sanders has the type of career that Justin Tucker does, and I think, or even Younghoe Koo, because I think they both have really great legs. And missing, you expect those guys to go out there and make them, which is why it's been weird to see. Even Justin Tucker missed a kick this weekend, and it was so
Right.
odd.
And
It
he,
was like
but
not
he
as-
had missed one a couple weeks
But it was
back
like
too.
the first time that he had missed one in like a while from like that distance.
Yeah, I think it was
Jason Sanders.
an extra point that he missed.
Mhm.
Yeah,
First one that he ever missed.
Jason Sanders missed for the first time from like in 10 times, like 10 tries, 10 consecutive 50 yards. Like it was a weird, and it's been pointed out the past 2 weeks have been really weird for the brand. Like kicking and punting has just been really off.
Yeah.
Hey, it's the brand, bro. I'm sorry, but I'm for the
I
brand.
love Pat McAfee show. Yeah.
That's
but
why I
it's
let
just
you
like-
handle Sanders. That's your
Yeah,
boy.
it's so hard to say that you're gonna put him over Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker again will
But,
probably
okay,
go down as the
from
best
the-
kicker in
from the
NFL
name,
history.
right? Even if we're not looking at Sanders, right? You've got Rodrigo Blankenship, who probably
Oh my
deserves
God,
it.
he's had an
more
He
than-
got in
outstanding
because of his
year.
glasses, bro. I'm sorry.
He is-
I'll be
Oh,
the
he didn't.
first
No,
to say
but
it.
did Blankenship make it in?
No, he didn't. But he's had
Yeah,
an
no, but I'm saying,
outstanding
like,
season.
Even if we
Outstanding
take out
season.
Jason Sanders, right?
He's like
Blankenship
23 for
is
26, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Who? Blankenship?
Yeah. He's
No,
he's only
29
missing.
of 32.
There you go. Sorry, I knew he
Yeah.
only missed like 3 kicks, something like that. I just can't remember what it was.
The biggest difference is this. Jason Sanders has a better percentage on his kicks than Justin Tucker. So that's number one. Number two, he has made more field goals. Right. And number three, he's made
just
more
the
from
name.
50 yards. There's only two other
name.
players that have a better 50+ yard field goal percentage accuracy, and that's Koo and McManus. And actually, no, McManus doesn't, because he's 8 for 10, and Sanders is 8 for 9. How
It's
do
just
you?
hard. It's because it's Justin Tucker. Like that's the way that it is. It's the Pro Bowl. Like and again, we were talking about this in the 5R main chat the other day. How they value kind of the name brand, and then this goes into like Hall of Fame voting and stuff, which is ridiculous. It should be all pros, not Pro Bowls.
I will say that on the Hall of Fame stuff, there's a podcast called I Am Athlete, not as all affiliated with us, not an ad, but that podcast is fantastic. They got into the Hall of Fame voting the other day a little bit. Just listening to that.
That's
side of it,
Brandon
fantastic.
Marshall, Omar Kelly, Chad Ochocinco, and someone else, right?
Chad Ochocinco,
Fred Taylor.
Fred Taylor, former running back, and they have a bunch of guests on, and sometimes they'll rotate in Channing Crowder too.
Yeah.
They just have really good
Channing was on one like political episode a couple weeks ago. It was really good.
They do a good job of touching a lot of subjects that I for sure didn't even realize. Like, for instance, I think this week, and not to get off on a tangent, but Brandon Marshall would get $500,000 checks and not even look at them. He would just know that it was in his bank account and not do anything about it.
Christ,
listen, if I were to get a $5,000 check, I'd be like, wait, what came in? This has got
500,000.
I know, that's what I'm saying. If I got a $5,000 check, I freak out. He's got 2 more zeros added on there, and he's like, man.
But like again, like it's just hard. It's the name brand
for sure.
It's the name brand. I mean, Justin, especially. I mean, like again, towards the back end, of course, like finishing out the voting and everything like that, with the fan part and everything else like that. It's like Justin Tucker hit an enormous kick on Monday Night Football to keep their playoff hopes alive.
Well, and that's another thing. He's kicking on primetime games, right? And the Dolphins have none.
And then Jason Sanders, unfortunately, within the primetime games that the Dolphins have had the past 2 weeks, technically, even though the Patriots game isn't primetime, but against an opponent that should be a good game, although it wasn't a good game against Patriots, was against Chiefs. Like, he didn't show up.
He missed the crucial ones.
It's unfortunate, but he's gonna bounce back. This isn't gonna be something for Jason Sanders to kind of dwell on. But him missing the Pro Bowl, it's just so, I don't know. It's so weird to me.
And at the end of the day, the Pro Bowl doesn't really. So
it doesn't mean anything. Like, it does in Hall of Fame voting for some reason, but the Pro Bowl is literally just a fan contest.
It'll mean things for certain players in their contracts because
which
there are
is
certain
also stupid.
I think it's dumb, but it is going to matter to them because the language is in there, right? If you're telling me I can get an extra several $1,000s for making the Pro Bowl, and then I feel like I deserve it and I don't get it, I'm going to be upset about it.
It's like the All-Star team in the NBA. It's like you have to get a certain amount and then you can, or All NBA, I think is what it is, not All-Star. But it's just like, that makes sense because that's, All NBA. That makes sense to me. But like,
well, the NBA fixed their All-Star game a lot in terms of voting because they have, I think it's a third or half fan voting. I think it might
I feel like they're willing to admit there's something you could do better.
And they do coaches and players. NFL doesn't do that at all, right? Coaches and players don't get involved.
And things would be so much different if it was more valued.
I think coaches and executives get 2/3 of the vote, and then the last 1/3 is fans.
Oh, do they? Oh, wow. Then they suck if they got Tucker. That's even worse.
Yeah,
but what coaches are really looking at, like if the player, I feel like, and when they do the NFL top 100, although I still think it's a little bit wonky, that's the players, and that's the players voting for that, and some of them still make more sense. Like you have some times where it's like, okay, that player's a little too low, this player's a little too high, but like they're the players, they're the ones that even with the coaches watching the game, like
they'll know.
I have like 5 friends on this team, so I want to keep track of that team because I want to see my friends do good, and I have 2 other friends on this team, like.
And I want to see them get their bonuses.
Yeah, so it's like there's, the players, I think, not only look out for players, but they also understand the integrity of the game, where if I'm going to vote this person as the top player of this or top player of that, like I want to make sure that this is really the top player. Like if I'm going to come out there and say Patrick Mahomes is the best player and all the players agree on that, like that means that every single player that voted in that thing, in that top 100 or whatever the hell they do, right? They're saying that Patrick Mahomes is like the best player collectively. Maybe not every single one of them did it, but as a whole, they're saying that Patrick Mahomes is the best player. If that, scenario happens, the Pro Bowl is just different. Yeah. Like I feel like all pros and stuff like that should just matter so much more than the Pro Bowl. But it is what it is. You chalk those up. One thing that's interesting is Matthew Slater, I think, also getting in and not Matt Collins. But I think that also relates to Matt Collins having to play more wide receiver lately.
And Matthew Slater is known like he's a very
just a special team.
He's locked and he's never
he's never gonna it could have been a challenge if Matt Collins wasn't being forced to be a wide receiver in the past.
But I mean, talking about not returners, I'm going to talk about returners, but I mean Jakeem, I think he could have got in as a returner as well. I don't know who they didn't even let in.
Now they stole
Andre Roberts.
We can say that they stole some stuff from us, right? We think Sanders, Agba both deserved their shots at the Pro Bowl. Excuse me. But they couldn't steal one from us, and that was Xavier Howard. Howard did actually make the Pro Bowl. I mean, he leads the league in interceptions. He's always around the ball. The dude is playing out of this world. We don't have to talk about him in the Pro Bowl because we think he deserves it, and I don't want to get any more into Pro Bowl talk. But the one thing that we don't have on our little script that I do want to bring up is Howard now and I think has been for weeks, but I mean, you just can't take it away from him anymore, has to be one of the leading candidates for Defensive Player of the Year. And I think the Dolphins have two really big award candidates, which are him for Defensive Player of the Year, and then you've got Brian Flores for Coach of the Year.
Which, by the way, that Steelers loss yesterday helps a lot for that Brian Flores.
Yeah. Before we even get into the
suck.
I don't see how, unless the Steelers ended 16-0, which they didn't, and now they're absolutely not going to, I don't see how you gave it to Mike Tomlin over Flores. Mike Tomlin has a very well established.
I think you could say that with with the last 3 losses, but I mean they were 11-0, and realistically we didn't know who was going to beat them. We didn't think anybody was going to beat them.
Whoa, hold up. The Steelers have been a bad team even with their 11.
No, I have watched them because I have a couple fantasy players from them, so I know for sure they have not been the best. They have not been the best team, but still they found a way to win each game, and that defense is ferocious.
Sure.
But the teams that they had in front of them, Washington, Cincinnati, you don't expect them to lose these games, especially 11-0. But I mean, right now, I think the key thing is I'm not really sure when the voting stops or when we actually announce
at the end of the season,
which would be great because week 17 might be Coach of the Year game.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say. I think to me, there are 3 candidates that I would be okay with having there. I think Mike Tomlin's out. Right. I agree. I'll give you that. On the if they had finished 16-0 or had stayed undefeated, sure, you can't take that away from
15-1,
15-1, sure, you're close. But at this point, with some of these losses, you're out.
Yeah.
But the 3 that I'm okay with having up there are Brian Flores, obviously, who I think is the leading candidate considering what the team is, right? 2, McDermott from the Bills. I mean, McDermott's having a great year, and everybody can say a lot of it's Stephon Diggs, but no team is just one wide receiver away from just this dominance that they're putting on in a lot of cases, right? Like, I mean, that's the defense too. McDermott's doing great. And then number 3, I'd say Stefanski, only because it's the Browns. No one wins with the Browns. He's somehow found a way.
Right? That they're at 10 wins right now?
Yeah, which I still think that team isn't as good as their 10-4 record. But of those 3, I agree with you. I think the Week 17 matchup does come down a lot to Coach of the Year right there, right? Like, I think Brian Flores leads us into the playoffs at 11-5, taking last year's team from 5-11 to 11-5, and who we have, right? Rookie quarterback, backup offensive lineman, backup wide receivers, a defense with players that we were able to get for cheap, as in, Ogba and Lawson, because nobody wanted them. I think you got to give it to B-Flow.
Yeah, and it sucks because before that Pittsburgh loss, one of the thinking thoughts or that people were mentioning was we might have to see the Bills week 17, but they probably wouldn't play the starters. But because of that Pittsburgh loss, now Buffalo is more of a shoe-in to get the number 2 seed, so now they have to kind of play for that. Right. So it's looking like we're gonna have to fight our way for the playoffs. And I think that's a good transition to go into next week, which is what would be the Raiders game.
Yep.
Yes.
Raiders game. Which, Kai, what are you looking for in that Raiders game?
Just don't look. It's the same thing. I know. It's the same thing I'm repeating this week. It's the same thing I'll repeat next week, and the same thing I said last week. Just don't get embarrassed. Like, that's just my thing right now. It's like, don't on the stage in which you must win.
Don't have a letdown.
Don't get embarrassed. Don't have a letdown.
Right, don't throw a shoe.
Don't let Marcus. Listen, North Carolina. Don't let Marcus Mariota, or I don't know if Derek Carr is going to play, but I'm assuming right now it's Marcus Mariota. Don't let Marcus Mariota somehow out Ryan Tannehill him. Ryan Tannehill to him to Derek Carr, right? And all of a sudden propel your playoff hopes into just probably nothing. Like that would be the worst way to end the season, because then you're relying on so much. And I know we'll get into that, but it's like, just go in there, same thing as the Patriots, get the job done. If you take care of business, if you can run the football efficiently, do so. If you can contain Marcus Mariota, which might be a little bit harder than I guess Cam Newton might be a little bit more of a better runner than Mariota is. But also Mariota, at least in recent weeks, has been a better passer than Cam has recently. So there's also a little more of that. But if you can contain him in the running game, which I think Brian Flores will be able to do, they did a lot better job of Cam this time around. And that's not to say that all of a sudden Cam couldn't run. I mean, even talking about the passing game for Cam in recent weeks, he still ran the ball extremely well in recent weeks. So being able to contain him better than you did in week 1, I don't think they'll have that bad of a job or that tough of a job containing Mariota, although he is faster. He probably is a little bit more shiftier. He's gonna be able to pass the ball better than Cam has recently. Henry Ruggs is gonna be a mission to handle as well, but at least in terms of speed. So that'll be interesting to get him either on Byron Jones or Xavier Howard. Just go out there and get the win. Offense, get the job done. Don't let Darren Waller and Henry Ruggs all of a sudden control the game and have embarrassment on Saturday Night Football, and you're sitting there like, well, if we don't win next week and the Ravens don't lose to who knows? The Bengals now all of a sudden are different, I guess. But joke aside, like if the Ravens don't lose to the Bengals and you lose, then you're screwed. So you got to kind of you control, again, it goes into other thing. You control your own destiny, but just don't get embarrassed. Go out there, get the job done. Get ready for Buffalo. Playoffs on the line, and that's the game that you want to be at.
Yeah. Juan, any key matchups or advantages you think the Dolphins have and should exploit or take advantage of?
Before we get to exploiting, I think I want to highlight the Raiders, because the Raiders have probably the offense that would make us struggle the most. Just in terms of the running back and the actual offensive line that they have. Josh Jacobs could be a very huge problem for us if we don't take care of him. I believe also, I think Ruggs was on the reserve list. I don't know if he came off yet.
I believe he did. But let me check really quick.
We definitely would probably give him more of the Tyreek Hill treatment. And then I'm also excited to kind of see how Eric Rowe will kind of bounce back from that KC game.
That's a big matchup.
Him and Waller, that's another huge tight end that's making a lot of noise here in the NFL. And then for us on the offensive side, just to see, can we have any sort of consistency with the running game?
Right, he's not off.
I touched about it in the beginning. Like, I don't think our offensive line really had like any type of epiphany or anything. It was just more so our running backs kind of like hitting the holes and finding cutbacks to hit. So just seeing if we can build off of that and kind of get at least another 100-yard game.
Yeah, I will say, you mentioned the Ruggs thing and playing Ruggs like Hill. I think Ruggs is super fast, and I think he's a decent receiver. I think he's had a bit of a case of the drop season, a couple of bad routes here or there. But to me, the bigger one that we got to key in on is Waller, especially because I'm pretty sure it's Mariota that's playing this week. Yep. Like, Carr was a 10 to 14 day evaluation. And I don't think he's going to make it back in time.
Ruggs is still on the list, by the way.
On the COVID list?
Yeah, I thought that he was taken off, but it was somebody
else.
And
he can still be taken off, I think, by tomorrow or even Thursday to make it back in time.
By Thursday, yeah.
But I think Waller is the bigger worry for me, because you talk about Hill. Hill has Mahomes, right? Hill's a great receiver, and I think he could succeed in a lot of places. Would he have the same success? Absolutely not, right? I don't think Mariota has that arm and that accuracy to really hit guys in stride. We saw him trail off. And maybe he's had this big Ryan Tannehill like comeback where now he's a completely different quarterback. But I watched some of that game on, what was it, previous Thursday night or last Thursday night?
Yes.
He didn't look that comfortable as a passer, right? I think he had success because the Chargers defense wasn't ready for an RPO game, and having to face some of that middle of the field passing. But I think if we can play similarly to how we did against the Patriots, and Nick Needham steps up and covers the middle of the field a little bit better, I think we can really, really clamp down on Marcus Mariota and have him have a bad game.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do that to Mariota.
No.
I mean, everyone has seen, he's had certain random flashes. I think you go to that game, Titans Chiefs a couple of years ago, where, you've seen some stuff. But I mean,
that was the second half comeback.
Yeah. But it's not too out of the realm of possibility for him to, have a bad game. And especially with a guy like Brian Flores and Josh Boyer, I think that, again, it's just a situation where go out there, get the job done, try to limit the play, like Josh Jacobs, try to limit the damage as much as you can. And if anything, if your offense can put up points, your defense get a score, or special teams or something like that, then you're going to force them to pass the ball instead of run the ball. And then Josh Jacobs, at least running the football, wouldn't be effective for the Raiders anyways. So,
and take advantage of a bad Raiders defense that is missing some of their better guys, right? Jeff Heath is on the injury reserve. Their best lineman was it Max Crosby, has 6 sacks. After that, Cleveland Farrell, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Yes. He has 2 sacks. There's nothing on the defense that scares me at all.
Pick ever.
So I think this is, it has to be a win for the Dolphins for playoff implications. I think we are a better team. Before we get into the playoff scenarios with you, Kai, let's just go ahead and give our predictions for that Raiders game. Juan, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think we'll definitely take care of business. I think we're going to have another 150-yard rushing from our offense. I also see finally Xavier kind of breaking that 10 interception, that double digits. And I probably see us going in with a 27 to 21 score win.
Okay. Kai?
Similarly, 27 win, but I'm going to go 27 to 14.
Okay. So my pick is going to be a Dolphins win. I don't think Mariota finds a way to make anything good happen for them. I do think they get a touchdown and a field goal, so I'll give the Raiders 10 points, and I'll give the Dolphins 28. Watching that game, there were so many wide open receivers against that Raiders defense. I have no idea how they even call that a defense. It really felt like guys standing in a random spot, like, oh, this is my zone. Like they have no idea what's going on. So I think Tua has a pretty good game. I think he has his first 3 touchdowns passing game against the Raiders, and I'll give the Dolphins the 28-10 win. But with that win, assuming it's a win, Kai, right? We're just going to move forward with that. What have we got for playoff scenarios for the Dolphins to make it into the postseason?
Okay, well, so, I don't know if this is going to be like the greatest thing to say because essentially the Dolphins kind of have to win out. Like there's not really much. There's not really much to say anymore. Let's say somehow, some way the Giants beat the Ravens. It's not going to matter because it's against an NFC opponent and not an AFC opponent. So if that happens, it doesn't matter at all. I guess I'm expecting the Packers to beat the Titans, but that point, I think it just comes down to seeding. I would have to look at kind of like week 17 again and see how that comes down. But I'm expecting them I'm expecting the Packers to beat the Titans. Broncos game doesn't matter. I don't think the Jets are going to beat the Browns, even if the Browns aren't the greatest 10-4 team. Essentially just getting the job done, getting your win puts you at 7. Let's say the Titans lose, the Browns win, and the Steelers lose, which would be horrible for the Steelers, but it's not out of the realm of possibility because I think if you look at the Colts right now and the Steelers right now, you'd probably put the Colts as the better team.
Right.
After week 16, if all of that happened, everyone gets the job done the way that they're supposed to, Chiefs would undoubtedly finish as the number 1 seed. The Bills would pretty much be fighting for that number 2 with the Colts, the Steelers, and the Browns. And then the Titans and Dolphins would be 6-7 with the Ravens at 8. And essentially Dolphins just have to win unless the Bengals give you a Christmas miracle, or I guess
and the Bengals game would be this week or the next one.
Bengals game is week 17. So this week, essentially, realistically, this week doesn't matter at all. You just got to get your win. That's what it comes down to. However, next week, let's say you win, the Ravens win, the Steelers, Browns, we'll see what we'll see what that happens. I think we could probably say that the Browns won't be the Steelers, even if the Steelers do kind of fall down a little bit. Will we all kind of agree with that? It's just the Browns are the Browns. So Steelers would end up winning the division there. Let's say Chiefs beat the Chargers. Well, they probably rest. Who knows? Let's say the Chargers beat the Chiefs somehow. That doesn't really matter. Colts beat the Jaguars. Most of these other ones don't really matter that much. How would it end up finishing if the Browns end up, which is kind of actually funny, if the Browns end up winning 2 here and losing to the Steelers, and the Titans finish 11-5, the Dolphins finish 11-5, the Ravens finish 11-5, the Browns would miss the playoffs. Ravens would finish 7th, the Dolphins would finish 6th, and would face the Colts in the first round wildcard playoff spot. If the Dolphins end up losing 1, the Browns would end up being in and the Dolphins would be out. So it's really just win unless the Ravens lose to the Bengals and the Dolphins.
Right, unless we get some miracles.
Yeah, it's essentially you just have to win out. You just got to win out. You got to do your part. And I don't think that anyone thinks that the Dolphins aren't going to be able to go out there and beat the Raiders, this weekend. And then I'd say it's a pretty great shot to beat the Bills. And you just got to, do your job, do your part.
Yeah.
Get the
handle
win done.
your business.
Handle your
Absolutely.
business, and you're either going to face, let's say that the Steelers finish second. It's going to be a great matchup for you, like
Yeah.
an outstanding matchup for you. And then let's say that the Colts like let's say you end up finishing higher and you play the Colts or whatever the situation. Even I personally, everyone except for the Chiefs, I think is a really good matchup for the Dolphins in the playoffs. Like I don't think any of them are too outlandish. But of course, like if you got the Steelers in the first round, that would be great. If you get the Bills, that would be a pretty fun game, especially if like you had played them, you played them Sunday and then the very next Saturday or Sunday, you play them again.
Yeah.
It's just, like you're asking for help in terms of seeding, but in terms of actually getting in,
it's just unless
the Ravens lose to the Bengals, which I guess isn't out of the realm of possibility because the Bengals beat even with the Steelers sliding, you don't expect the Bengals to beat the Steelers. So that's not complete out. And again, it's the NFL. Like anything can happen.
Absolutely.
So
we saw that on Monday night.
Yeah, as long as you control your destiny, it's really up to seeding. And then if other things go your way and you slip up against the Bills, then you're still going to get in. Right. So you just kind of have to just control your own destiny, and hopefully, everything slides your way. I don't think that it's going to be anything too bad. I expect the Dolphins to win out. So they're going to get into the playoffs. I would be shocked if they didn't. I think one thing to touch on really quickly and to tie in the Brian Flores into this type of thing, the Coach of the Year award, to get the Dolphins from 5-11, as we mentioned last season, to finish, let's say they went out 11-5. I don't think that there's any way that he doesn't win Coach of the Year. And on top of that, it's just puts you in the right position, and then getting Tua into a playoff game, win or lose, is amazing. So I just you went out and everything, which again, it's not difficult. Yeah, it's just not difficult. I mean, even like it's crazy to think that the Ravens, although I guess in terms of like strength of schedule, you would say that theirs is easier than ours. They're playing teams that even the Giants, who laid an egg the other night on Sunday Night Football, like there's still teams that like this could randomly just get a win because it's the NFL.
Yep.
Like the Giants game doesn't really matter, but the Bengals game does. And if the Bengals somehow pull off a win, like your playoffs are screwed. And it's not the the Bengals did that too. Maybe they did it to the Ravens or the Steelers somehow, where they decided who won the division. I think it was to the Ravens, like a couple years back. Again, that's Andy Dalton, but like,
that's
not out of the realm of possibility.
Hail Mary at the end.
I think it was Andy Dalton, and
it was Andy Dalton and AJ Green.
Bills, and he got the Bills into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Literally anything is
they
possible.
Beat us.
Yeah,
as long as you win, nothing matters.
Which is a great spot for the Dolphins to be in. Tua, we've always thought, is a big game quarterback, and this is the time for him to do it. Yeah, he's a rookie, but I'm done making he's a rookie. It's okay. It happens. Let's get those wins. Let's play smart football. We covered a lot for you guys this show. We went from the new running game we have. We talked about our celebrity encounters. We talked about the terrible Pro Bowl that we're going to have with Madden and some of this stuff.
Really quick on the Pro Bowl. I meant to mention this earlier. It's ridiculous that Stephon Gilmore is over in the Pro Bowl to his teammate, J.C. Jackson.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that.
Another
that is ridiculous.
Just absolutely ridiculous. Thank you guys so much for watching. We've got the Hawaii Bowl this Saturday, Mariota versus Tua Tagovailoa. And do not forget, we have a very, very special episode for you guys Wednesday. We're going to have Greg Camarillo on the Extra Yard. We're going to be able to talk to him a little bit. It is the 1 year and 1 week anniversary of his, the 13-year and 1 week anniversary of his amazing catch against the Baltimore Ravens to make sure that the Dolphins didn't end 0-16. Make sure to catch that here on the 5 Reasons YouTube. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Kai, Juan, you guys have a good one, and fins up.
Take care, guys.